Hey guys, welcome back to another Cultured Boys discussion. I'm Pepe and I'm joined by Nathan. And this week we're going through every single Weekly Jump manga that has released this year. And when I say we mean like new ones. We mean new
Yes.
series. Series that launched in 2023 that we actually haven't covered in this channel before. So there's a list of about, like 10 here? 8? I don't know. I can't
I
count.
don't know. Actually. 1, 2,
Never bothered
3,
counting before we did
4,
this.
5, 6, 7, 11.
11. There's 11 series here. That means 2023, 11 series started in Weekly Jump, and not all of them are still running by the end of it. So today we're going to be doing a little review on each of those series.
Before we get into it, we only had one rule, and that was just
Mhm.
read the first chapter.
Yes.
So if either of us has read more than that, that's up to them. But for the sake of this, we only read the first chapters. So our impressions may not be the best as well,
Yeah.
just cause. But this is just what we thought based off of the first chapter of all the new 2023 Shonen Jump manga.
Yeah. Our initial thoughts, basically, which is
Yeah, pretty much actually. It's
exactly
probably the best way to say it.
yeah. But I'm ready to jump straight into it. You, Nathan?
Yeah, because this is a big list.
So, starting off with Fabricant 100. Even though it is a 2023 manga, it was published on December 5th, 2022.
I believe that is the year of release is based on which issue of Jump it is, and I think that counted
Yeah.
as the first 2023 Jump issue. That's why this one counts. That's it though. That's the only sort of like strange one.
Yeah. I will say this ahead now as well. There has been a new series that started in Jump in the first issue of 2024, which we won't be covering. Just gonna
Yes.
give you a heads up on that now. But we'll talk about that never. Fabricant 100. Nathan, how do you want to do this? Because you usually do the descriptions each and every time. Do you want me to give a crack at these, or do you just want to take them all?
Um, I I can do them all. Like, if we want to just stay with formatting, but it's up to you. If you want to take one, like, because I'm not gonna like some of these are very short, so you only have to. Some of them you literally like only have to read a sentence. Like, so if at any point you feel like you wanna take one, you let me know. But otherwise, I'll be the default and I'll do them.
Nathan, you do what you do best, man. Anyone that's heard me
Okay.
describe things before, I'm all for it. So I'll let Nathan do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So Fabricant 100, Jinzo Ningen, Hyaku, or 100. It actually says 100, but I wanted to flex a little bit, you know. I know the word for 100.
Fantastic.
Anyway. Created by Daisuke Enoshima, published December 5th, 2022 to September 4th, 2023. There was once a doctor fixated on creating the ideal human being. After the doctor's death, his fabricant creations start attacking humans in order to attain the perfect body. When Ashibi Yao's entire family is murdered by these fabricants, he sets out on a journey of revenge, accompanied by the doctor's final creation, Fabricant 100. Oh, before we get into it, sorry, I just want to say, just because I don't want to say it every time, all descriptions I got from the Jump Plus app. Done.
Mhm. Sweet. There we go. That's that ticked off.
Literally. Otherwise, I'll have to say it every time and it'll just get annoying.
Starting off, Fabricant 100. I'm gonna say this straight off the bat. This was an okay first chapter.
You reckon? Oh, okay. As a
Yeah,
chapter, yes, I will agree, but like, I like the premise.
premise is interesting. I think it is like a tale of revenge, basically, and it's one of those ones where I would kind of like to see where this headed. Obviously, it's ended in September 4th this year,
Yeah.
so I don't know how many chapters that is.
I don't remember. I didn't note that down. Um, as a first chapter, I feel like because it maybe felt like it had a lot to explain, and it
Yeah.
tried to do it in a I don't want to say like a different way, but like normally you would just get like a exposition dump, whereas this was
Mhm.
kind of like they tried to wrap it within some sort of story or some sort of incident
Hmm.
that happens straight away, so that you're like, oh, right, so that's how this all relates to the current whatever's going on. Yeah, it was an okay first chapter. It did what it needed to do. You learn about the whole thing, like what the
Yeah.
main characters fuck, what's the word? Motivation. That's it. You learn about Fabricant 100, the Doctor, the
Hmm.
Fabricants. Like it does what it needs to do.
There's a lot of stuff there. I feel like it's one of those ones where it has a list of all the fabricants it needs to go through, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
at the end of the chapter, it's like, oh, 82 to go or something. Is it 82 or 87? I think it was one of those
They
numbers.
took
But
out I think they took out, was it 12 or 14 already by that point? Like,
yeah, yeah,
so
sounds.
some a high 80s, something like that.
Yeah,
80,
it's in
86
the
to
80s
88
at
or something.
least.
Yeah, it's like 80 something.
So basically, the first chapter sets out that we have to kill 80 something fabricants, and obviously Ashibi is joined by Fabricant 100. There's a battle that goes on. Obviously, Fabricant 100 is one of the best ones.
Well, it is the best one. They keep saying that the Doctor kept creating until they reached the perfect one. Fabricant 100
Yeah.
is the perfect fabricant he made, but that was also the day he died. And they say that the power scaling is that the lower the number, the weaker they are.
Hmm.
However, they've been roaming for a while and they are set out with the purpose of gaining the perfect body. So I don't know personally how long, for example, Fabricant 100 will actually be the strongest. Because
Mm.
theory being that whilst they were the strongest at creation, if everyone's had time to steal things and make themselves more perfect, but Fabricant 100 hasn't been doing that, they can't still be the strongest, surely.
That's a good point because that would have been my biggest thing. Is like, oh, if Fabricant 100 is the strongest, doesn't it feel a bit OP? But like you said, if they've been roaming, getting parts of different bodies, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, it does make for an interesting concept of like, oh, let's go through and defeat all the
Yeah.
like. It feels like a good, in some ways, like if it wasn't so dark, I feel like it would be a good Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing where like it's your it's your enemy of the week, like like Card Captor Sakura kind of vibes where it's like,
I
you gotta take out this different fabricant, you gotta take
I
out
get
this.
where you're going with
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Like
You know what I mean? But
they'd have to
basically,
remove like half of the premise
you
to
you
make it
wouldn't be you
okay for
yeah.
Saturday morning, though.
I mean, like, it's but what I'm coming down to in the fact is, like, this feels like it's a enemy of the week kind of
Yeah,
scenario.
pretty much.
And then obviously you'll find your stronger ones here and there, and there probably is gonna be one that probably does reoccur as well. One that'll get away and be like a rival, be like, "Fuck this, I wanna get better," and, like, take out Fabricant 100. They all have their own motives at the end of the day, and, like,
Yeah,
if there'll be, like, a rival that comes through eventually.
I think the funniest thing is I didn't think about it when I read it. It was only once we
Mhm.
started recording, and I was like reading the description. This reminds me of Blood Oath because Blood Oath was about vampires, but the main characters were two brothers. So you've got a bigger, stronger person and like the kid,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Then so the bigger, stronger person, quote unquote, is loyal to the kid, and the kid is on
Mm.
revenge for their family. And Blood Oath was basically the same sort of thing, but with vampires instead of fabricants. Or I mean, let's face it, they're called fabricants. They're zombies. Uh,
Zombie,
they
zombies is a
pretty
bit.
much, yeah, they're zombies. Uh, but you know what I mean, like, and
Yeah.
it's kind of the same kind of thing in a way,
Mhm.
because in Blood Oath, like, they're stopping all the vampires from eating people and getting
Right.
stronger,
Yeah.
whereas this is they're stopping the fabricants from getting stronger and killing people, and it's a team up one. They're like parallels in my mind now.
Yeah. Now that you said it, it's kind of like, okay, this kind of feels that there's a reason why it probably didn't go on too long. I thought the art was okay in this as well. I don't think it was anything spectacular
I
compared
thought it
to
was
some
all
other
right. Yeah, it's pretty
series.
good
It
though.
is okay, yeah. But yeah, Fabricant 100, I thought for a first chapter is okay. Is solid 5, 6 out of 10 for me if I was going
Fair.
to put a number on it.
Here's how we can end each one. I feel like. Would you
Mhm.
continue reading it?
No.
Okay. I don't think I would either, to be fair.
Yeah. There we go. There's that. Obviously, the next series after this is Tenmaku Cinema. However, we have reviewed this before.
We have an episode, so go and do that. Go
Please check
listen,
it
watch.
out.
Yeah, check that one.
I will say Tenmaku Cinema has ended since this
Yes.
obviously episode came out, and I think it was probably about a month or two ago it did. So it had about 20 chapters. It was okay ending. It's fine.
I didn't read anymore. I have to go and read it all.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
go check out that episode.
Yeah, go check out our episode for our full thoughts around early
Yes.
chapters of that. Next one though, Kill Blue.
Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about when I said there's some of them have very short descriptions.
Mhm.
So if you want to do this one, feel free. If not, I will do it. Do you want to do this one, Pepe?
Shall I take a crack at it? Shall I go for it?
I mean, yeah, sure. Again, it's like a sentence.
God.
So
God. I'll ease myself in. Kill Blue, otherwise known as Kiru Ao, created by Tadatoshi Fujimaki, published in April 2017 this year, and is still ongoing. Description here from Manga Plus, as Nathan has said. A graduate from the School of Hard Knocks, Hitman Ogami faces his greatest challenge yet. Middle school. Wow, that really doesn't give much at all
Yes,
of what
it
this series is
doesn't.
about.
I will say some of these descriptions are long and they're very, very good. And
Yeah.
then you get ones like this, which basically is a sales pitch.
This literally is like your one line. This doesn't give anything away about the series, so we'll go into a bit more detail now about
Yes.
it. Obviously, we said Hitman Ogami. This is the main character of it.
Yeah, Juzo Ogami, the main character.
He is he's 39, I think he says in the series.
Yeah,
and
he's like getting there. He's getting up in. I don't want to say old because I mean, yeah,
no,
you know,
but he's like for a hitman, if you're 39, it means you're
Yeah.
like well into your years.
He-
You're professional. You're like up there basically as a hitman.
yeah. So like, I thought it was started very strong. I quite enjoyed the start of it.
Yeah.
It maybe wasn't so good towards the end. However, I think it was strong enough and has similar vibes to
Yeah.
another series that I'm kind of like, I might read this.
Yeah, like just going fleshing out this freaking one-liner for a second there as well. Like this hitman basically is on a mission. Obviously, you see how well he does. He takes out a bunch of these like these gangsters or
He's
whatever.
born and bred to be
Yeah.
a hitman. He was a orphan that was taken off the streets at a very young age.
Mhm.
I believe he said 4 or 5 years old, something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he basically was trained from that day. So he doesn't know anything else.
Nah. So he didn't even go to middle school. He literally finished
yeah.
elementary, I think he says, and then
Yeah,
that's it.
they established that quite early on that he's not had much actual like formal education. He's just been a hitman the whole time and he hates pretty much everything about life by this point because he's just desensitized to everything.
Yeah. But he gets stung by a wasp of
Genetically
some kind.
modified.
A genetically modified wasp, which makes him younger, and he has to attend middle school for a mission given to him by his boss. Is the quick rundown
It's
of it.
it's such a random thing as well. Like the boss calls him up because basically boss wants to send his daughter to this private school. And
Mhm.
boss doesn't trust the safety of the school. So now because his best guy happens to have been turned into a teenager, he's like, right, I'm sending you there. But Juzo is also like, I don't know how to talk to kids. I can't do it. Can't do it. Fuck it. I can't. Luckily, he's got like a partner who seems like he's in his like mid-20s ish. He's got it.
Yeah.
He seems like he's got his thumb on the pulse a little bit. You know, he sort of knows what's going down. He's an internet kid.
But obviously, he's never been to school before. This this hitman, so he's learning about negative numbers, and it's like, oh my god, there's negative numbers. There's certain reaction in this which I thought were quite funny.
You know, there's that one when he's like, oh, it's social studies. I didn't know there was like a special grave over there. I killed someone from there right next to it, and I didn't even know. And he's like, oh, it's amazing when you can put these ex- things with your life experience. It's like, maybe don't.
Yeah.
Not with your life experience.
He's one of those people that like obviously he's learning so much and he's actually really enjoying learning so much as well,
Yeah, he
which is quite
cries.
fun to see.
He cries about it. He has such a like
Yeah.
visceral emotional response to learning. It's
Yeah.
quite interesting.
It's quite wholesome in some ways. But this is worth saying that I obviously mentioned the mangaka before,
Yes.
Tadatoshi Fujimaki, who is the mangaka behind Kuroko no Basket, one of our
Yee.
favorite basketball series. Obviously, like one of our favorite sports series of all time as well, I'd say.
Yes.
And the art does come through really well here as
Oh,
well.
it does. It does.
You can see like with his character design as well. Obviously, he's drawn him in such a way as like, oh yeah, you can kind of tell that's that Kuroko
Yeah.
kind of art style, but it's not at the same time. It isn't obvious from the start, which I do love as well. It doesn't look like they copy and paste characters.
Surprisingly, Pepe's right. Like, you see hints of it, but you couldn't quite like pin it down. It's
Nah.
almost like, sometimes when the assistant of someone gets their own like series published, and you're like, that looks like something I recognize. It feels kind of like that, but it's them. It does also need to be said, this was on our list to do a separate episode of before.
Yeah,
We
for a
just
while as
didn't,
well. Yeah.
yeah, we just didn't get around to it.
Considering
So
this started so early on in the year as well, like this obviously
yeah,
started in
April
April, so
17th, like,
it's
yeah,
been on that for a while. Literally, I think it was the same time as Tenmaku Cinema. We didn't want to group this in the same episode, basically. So
they they came out at the
yeah.
same time, and because they were from two mangaka that we've read series from and liked, we wanted to do separate episodes for them. We just never got around to this one. Um, but before we stick to this
Mhm,
too much,
mhm.
what would you read this? Would you continue reading this, Pepe?
I actually would, I actually would continue reading this. I think it has engaged me enough where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing where this goes from here and like how like it goes between obviously him trying to get his old body back if he wants to try and do that
Yeah,
still, or whether he wants to continue middle school, wherever his mission is. Obviously, I'd love to see where this series goes with that, and I probably would continue.
yeah, agreed. I would also like to see what happens. Do they find a cure? Is he just going to grow old again and basically live a second life? Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested.
Yeah. Uh Considering it's been going on, it's still ongoing as well. Absolutely. Yeah. I would definitely would check this out again. Let's move on to the next series then. I'll
Oh,
take on this one as well.
yay.
So
Cool. I
uh
like this
do
one.
do retry, so otherwise known as do retry.
Duritorai.
Created by Jun Kira, God, I should have read this before.
Kirarazaka.
Kirarazaka. That's a lot of Hadahadas in there.
Oh, God. Don't
Uh,
put that in.
published in May 8th and finished in September 18th this year. In post-war Japan, war orphan Aozora will swing his fist to protect his little sister. Again, not too much in that description,
No, it
but
isn't. But
also it does hit
tells
it
you
really
everything.
well. That is literally what
Yeah,
the
it
series
tells you
is.
literally everything. Um, do okay. I'm just gonna call Pepe out right now on this. When we were looking at the list, this was on my list already because
Yeah.
it's boxing. It's another sports manga,
Mhm.
and I love my sports
Yeah.
manga, especially boxing
Mhm.
ones, because of Hajime no Ippo. Pepe looked at this and went, "Oh yeah, this looks cancelable. This makes sense that it's over." And I just right after I just finished saying like, "Oh man, I like this. I want to read this." Just shit
Um,
on me straight away. Just shit on my
yeah,
appearance straight away.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, Nathan, it definitely speaks to your taste considering it has been cancelled. And everything that Nathan likes when he gets into a new series does get cancelled.
Why you gotta do me like that? Why you gotta do me like that?
Hey, this is how it be. You call me out, I'm gonna call you out the same way.
Oh god. Do you know what? This
um,
falls into every category of that as well. It's
yeah,
a new series. It was a
yeah.
sports manga, and I
Mhm.
like it, so of course it died. I feel like I'm the Grim Reaper of like shonen sports manga. Anyway,
As well, like honestly, as I said, like that description kind of basically speaks for itself.
yeah, he's
Like
basically your typical gutsy shonen. His dad was
yeah,
a boxer before, I believe, World War II.
yeah. This is all the first chapter takes place in 1945.
So his dad was a boxer, yeah. And then he basically is so inspired by his dad. He is like the gutsy little punk. He's not a
Mm-hmm.
punk, but like he acts like one in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I really liked this though because this reminded me, like the setting and the premise really reminded me of Grave of the Fireflies. I've mentioned that film so many
Okay.
times,
Yeah.
but it's basically because it's set in the same sort of time period and it's the same sort of thing, except Grave of the Fireflies, the main character, the big brother, who is doing everything he can to keep his little sister alive, doesn't box. That's the difference.
Okay. Yeah. That's the only
It's
difference. But
more
yeah. Okay.
realistic in that sense, but like in this one, like Alzora is basically just trying to keep his spirits up and keep his sister from dying, basically. He's doing
Yeah.
everything for her, and it turns out, he learnt a fair amount from watching his dad a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
on instinct and reflex, he just kind of is a little better at boxing.
To give this like some props as well, I will say, even though I don't think I really enjoyed this as much as you did, Nathan, I will say it has that classic manga feel to it, like a classic
Yeah.
series, something that would come from like the 80s or 70s even. This feels like a really like classic tale, especially with the boxing as well. I mean, it's absolutely fair. The story holds up. I just don't think it's my kind of thing personally.
Fair
It
enough.
just
Yeah, that
I
makes
think
sense.
it hits those emotional notes as well because his mum dies in the first chapter. Obviously, his dad's missing,
Yeah.
and his sister ends up contracting tuberculosis as
Yeah.
well. So it's a really emotional series, and this guy, when like, even though his dad's a boxer and he's inspired by his dad, he gets knocked down and he keeps on getting back up. Doesn't necessarily mean he's a good fighter though.
Yeah. He's basically just a weak kid. He's just a gutsy kid, is all. Like, that's all he's got is the resolve.
Yeah. He shows potential as well, but, like, not like your typical shonen where it's like your shonen main character where it's like, "Oh my god, he's, like, come out of nowhere." Like, he basically he gets beat down and throws a punch, which is quite good against this
Yeah.
Yakuza boss or, like, some
No,
kind
not
of
Yakuza
gang.
boss.
No,
He's
no,
just
it's like a
he's a
gang.
Yakuza member.
Yakuza member, yeah. But yeah, it's a decent first chapter, it's just not my thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew from it straight away. There's certain manga that I'm like, this is not Pepe at all. Your Pepe's not going to enjoy
Yeah.
this. And then things like this are right up my alley. These are the
Yeah.
things that I really enjoy. So like, I mean, if that first fucking story doesn't explain it at all, oh, I don't know what does.
I think there's something the art doesn't really gel with me either. I will say
It
it's
kind of reminded me of Hinamaru Zumo a little, just a tiny
I
bit.
think there's I actually agree with you there. There is some bits in there where I was like, okay, but doesn't mean to say it's bad art at all. I actually think it's quite detailed in some panels.
Yeah,
It just again doesn't gel with me. It's not my kind of thing. This isn't to say this is a bad first chapter though. I think it's actually a very good first chapter. It's just not me. So I'd say for anyone that loves a classic series and loves like an underdog character, this is for you, especially. But would I continue reading this? No, I probably wouldn't.
yeah, that makes sense. I would 100% continue reading this. It is hard though when you know for a fact that something's finished. So it's kind of like,
It's
is it
brutal, isn't
worth
it?
recommending though? Because it's like, well, you're only going to get so far and then it's done.
It's
You
one of
know,
those things,
so
obviously, but even if you did want to try and reread it, Nathan, it's the Manga Plus would change their rules in terms of reading. So you'd have the
yeah,
first three chapters, and I think you might get the last three, but you ain't getting those middle ones
I'd
unless you
have to
pay.
subscribe. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
have to
Oh,
subscribe.
there we go. Right. Well, let's move on to News
Yes.
Exorcist.
Nui's
You want to take this one,
Exorcist.
mate?
Nue no Onmyoji, created by Kota Kawai, published May 15th, 2023, and is currently ongoing. Yajima has been able to see spirits since he was small. At his new school is a room that nobody else can see, and inside a spirit who loves playing video games. A new modern Exorcist saga now begins.
Mm-hmm.
I quite
It's
like this series, to be fair. I kind of understand why it's still ongoing and why it was one of the bigger new ones.
Yeah, I can understand as well. I will say, when I first saw the art from this, I thought, "Oh, this one," to reference the last series.
Did you
I thought,
actually?
I thought this one was cancelled. Turns out it isn't. It's ongoing, and I can actually see why because I actually really enjoyed the first chapter of this.
I
Actually,
thought it became quite a strong first chapter.
oh, very good. Yeah, like it leaves you wanting to know more about its characters and like you want to know why Nue is confined to that room as well.
Yeah,
There's like so much there, like in terms of other characters within that series as well. Like there's secondary characters you want to like who don't think actually factor in that much into the story,
yeah.
actually end up becoming more relevant towards the end. Even they show promise and like, whoa, okay, that's actually quite a decent secondary character there.
Plus, you immediately get like some growth of the main character,
Mm,
like Yajima or Gakuro Yajima, like from the beginning. Like you get to understand quite a lot of him from the first chapter as well, because his basically he's always seen spirits. His dad was an exorcist. I'm assuming from what it was
it
basically
was,
kind of
yeah.
showing. He watched his dad die to a very powerful spirit at a very young age, so he wants to just live a peaceful life, peaceful existence. He'll do anything for everyone to basically coexist and not stir up the spirits, because it's the typical kind of like spirit manga where like negative human emotions stir up and create more bad spirits.
Yeah.
So Yajima does whatever he can to just placate everybody, and he ends up like changing the way he thinks by the end of the first chapter. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. So now he's stepping up. He wants to finally become basically the shonen protag.
It's a series that leaves you wanting to know more as well because you get Nue's introduction to Yajima. Sorry, yeah, like you get their introduction to each other, and it is quite funny because he gets immediate like chill off for like, oh, like even though this spirit killed my dad,
She's
this
stronger than that.
Nue feels stronger than that. But then when they meet, they're just playing video games in a room for like about like for his lunch break or whatever. And then like so that's a funny first meeting for one. But then obviously when they start working together and Nue lends Yajima her strength, you see how powerful they can be together, and it is like, whoa, okay, that is a really cool end to that chapter.
That was only like a fraction of her power as well.
Yeah.
And she says he has a lot of potential. So in those last few pages, you get sort of drip fed little bits because it's like, oh, she's way more powerful than we've seen, and he's also way more capable than
Mhm.
he lets on. So it's like their growth could be immense.
Yeah. And this is a series that leaves you wanting so much more as well. Like from that first chapter, you're like, I want to see where this character goes. I want to see how their bond gets stronger. Is Nue going to be exorcised by this person as well? Because it's Nue's exorcist, but does that mean she wants to be free? Or does it mean that what is Nue's
Yeah,
goal at
what's
the end
her
of the
end
time?
goal? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it's good to see Yajime's improvement,
This
but
is another
like,
one that's like right up my alley because I really like those like spiritual like battle manga. And this is like a little shaman king because it's like combining with the spirit or whatever. It's a little bit of oh crap, what was it called? There was one that came out a little while ago that I really
I know
liked.
the
That was
it's the
also an
psychic one,
exorcist.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know the one. It ended prematurely. It was really good too. It was similar concept as well, and like even like to somewhat lesser extent, like Bone Collection. It's like using the powers of a powerful demon spirit, some sort of like supernatural thing, in conjunction with yourself, and it had like a cool transformation and look to it all. Like this is definitely I would read this.
In some ways, it's very tropey. Like it doesn't. It's like you said, you've listed off a few
Yeah,
series right off the bat. Oh, it's a spirit which helps a school kid gain
yeah.
powers. It is.
I've
It
read
is. There's a
loads of
load of
these.
those, and but that doesn't stop it from being a really engaging first chapter and leaving wanting more at the end of the day. So, would I continue reading this? I actually would continue reading this. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. I mean, again, this is like almost the next peak for me. Like after my
Mm.
standard battle mangas, after sports mangas, this is like the next thing
This is
I
your
like.
medium, your psychic, like battle
Pretty much,
manga.
yeah. This is
That is
I
it,
just
yeah.
looked it up. Phantom Seer was the one I was talking about.
Phantom Seer, that was it. Yeah, that was really enjoyable. I like that one as well,
So
actually.
like
That was really
for
good.
me, this is like the next one, right? And
Hmm.
I'm glad that it's still ongoing because it means I've got stuff to read. Uh,
Ah, yeah.
that one was called Moving On to got another one of my kind of series. I tell you,
Yeah.
boy.
Hmm.
Martial Master Asumi or Asumi Kakeru, which now that I've said it, it just gives me flashbacks to Blazing Transfer students because they were all Kakaru something. Uh, I
It didn't ring a bell. I never clocked until that moment.
it didn't clock till I just read it then, which is
Yeah,
funny
like,
because I wrote
oh
the
god.
notes myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, created by Kawada, published June 19th, and is ongoing. Kawada Sensei, the creator of Hinamaru Zumo. Wow, how did I not read that when I copied that? That makes so much sense now. Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Returns to Shonen Jump. Nito is living a quiet high school life while taking care of his disabled grandpa, but thanks to an encounter with a schoolmate striving to be a pro female MMA fighter, his life is about to flip. Sometimes you just have to fight. This serious MMA story is an all out battle. Right. So, that makes
Yeah.
sense with the art style now.
I completely knew it. When I saw this art style, I was like, this is Hinamaru Zuma. This is 100%.
I thought that
Because
too, but you know when you're just like, for
it's
whatever
like
reason,
the character design is so like it's so Hinamaru Zumo. And actually reading more about like because when I saw this, like this Kawada guy, 100% he's done it. I looked into it on his my anime list, and he's done a bunch of other sports series as well. So you can tell this is this guy's like forte.
passion, yeah.
This is okay, he's a sports manga guy. And you can tell with this series as well. Like it's different from like Hinamaru Zumo in that sense. Obviously it's sumo. This is MMA. It's taking a different direction. And he does it well. I
Bro,
can't fault it.
I am so here
Yeah.
for it. I am so here for it.
I
Like
read this and I was like, this is a Nathan series. This
like
is a
I loved Hidemaru Zumo, and now that I've read that, I'm like, bro, no what? I'm gonna fucking love this. I'm gonna fucking
yeah.
love this. I mean, I already did. First chapter was great for me. Like, it's the
Yeah.
same. I noted down to me this felt like the origins of like Hajime no Ippo. It's like a
Mm.
kid who, through weird life experiences, actually has some sort of like affinity for this thing that they're now about to take on, this combat sport. But for whatever reason, they're quite a like placid kid. They're not really into violence or whatever. They don't really like Nito doesn't want to cause any trouble. He doesn't want to hurt people. He doesn't like seeing blood and stuff. But because his grandpa, it turns out, is like a martial artist, has been training him since he was a kid. So he's been doing martial arts forever just to hang out with his granddad. And like so that's why to me this felt kind of like a Hajime no Ippo because like it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. It is a really good concept for a series and like the characters feel quite unique even though the like character design is very much that Hino Marazumo style.
Yeah.
Like I still feel like this is like these characters are all unique. They got their own kind of thing going on. None of them feel the same as Hino Marazumo. This is a really good first chapter
I
for
also
this kind
like
of series.
I also really like that alongside Nito, like his the aforementioned classmate who wants to be a pro female MMA fighter, now Okiba. Like I like that there's a female character that's like way into the
Isn't it?
contact
Yeah.
sport, and she's basically the expert here. Because like normally it might have been the other way. He's like been fighting for a little while, and then she like joins. And she's like, oh, I want to try
Yeah.
out, but no, like she's the expert here. She's the one way into it. And like I really like that sort of like flip because normally in a sports manga, especially one about contact sports, you don't really see that much.
Yeah, it's man, this is one of those ones. Like when you were saying about the female character being introduced, it kind of needed that. I feel that's what like Hinamaru Zumo kind of lacked a little bit. I understand it's a very different sport and not everything works out like that, but it's good to see like female representation in the series as well.
Yeah.
It sounds like such a like something that people might get triggered about at some
Well,
point these days.
especially
I'm
a
like,
sport like
freaking
MMA where there are very
yeah,
prominent like fighters
literally,
on both
yeah,
sides. So like if you don't have someone representing both sides, it's a very very missed opportunity. But again, I'm very glad that they've got like male lead, female lead,
yeah.
and like that they're so different. Like she now Okiba is so into this because her dad's basically an MMA fighter. That's why
Mm,
she wants to do that. Like and it's just really
mm.
cool. It's just
And you've
really
got
cool
like
to see it.
you got other characters in this series as well, which are gonna be like your rookie character and like that kind of thing. Where again, this is what Kawada does best, in my opinion. Like, I know I haven't read a bunch of his other works or whatever, but you can tell he's structuring. Okay, there's this character which is going to be the rookie, which wants to get into it and has that passion. You know, further down the line when this series goes on and on, you know that character's going to be super relevant down the line.
Yeah. He'll have his own story arc where like he might hit the wall, and he's like, "Oh, I might give up." And then like it's like, "No, don't give up." And then it's like fight for
Yeah,
his life. He'll have that one fight where he's
yeah,
like has to push through.
yeah.
He finally has that burning flame, that resolve, and then he wins the fight or he gets knocked real hard, but he's like, "No, my passion has been reinvigorated."
It's like that rookie character, the one that you think isn't gonna go far, but like like will never be that level of Asumi or whatever, but
Yeah.
will always be on his coattail, like literally be right behind him,
It's
like just be
basically
like, "Come on, man."
his
Yeah,
rival that, like, is has to put in more work. The
yeah,
one that has to work way harder than anyone else
yeah.
to get
But you
results.
know they will because
Yeah.
they feel passionate about it. You know it's setting up for those characters, and this is what again it does well. You know for a fact a series like this is definitely in like I know obviously he's created himself, but it is in the best hands of Kawada, and it is a really strong first chapter, a very strong story as well. I, as much as I have literally just praised it, though, it's one of those ones I'd love to read more, but I'd probably drop off of it. I probably
Yeah.
won't. I
I
won't
could
follow
see
through
you
with it.
I could see you dropping off. I didn't think you would read much of it.
But I did enjoy. I think it is a really good first chapter, really good, left a really good first impression. Other than that, like it's just again, it falls into thing, is it for me? And there's so many manga out there that I'm just still trying to keep up with as much as I can.
Yeah.
Um, I I hope it does well. I really do hope it does well, but it
Me
just isn't
too,
for me.
because
Yeah.
I would 100% read this.
I know
It was
you would. Again,
it
a
was
series I knew as a Nathan.
it was already on my list before I knew anything. I remember when this came out and I did tell Pepper like, "Yo, there's a new battle manga, there's a new martial arts manga. I'm so excited." And I'm glad I finally got to because yeah, I'm 100% down for this. This is right in the sweet spot. Like
Hmm.
I'm eating
Yeah.
good.
It's just good to see Carter getting stuff out as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the next series, Icehead Gill.
Yes. This one also needed, well, didn't need, but was requested by Wilder. Wilder really wanted us to read this. I don't think he wanted us specifically to do an episode, but he did want us to read this. So
Really did want us to read it, yeah.
fits into the new theme of this year, the year of promises. We're keeping promises out here. Um, before I read, I just wanted to say to everybody, because I had to explain this to Pepe beforehand. Lots of the new mangas are in katakana. So we're not just making shit up because we don't know what it is. These are literally what the Japanese names are. They basically are just the Japanese version of the English words. Okay, so Ice Head Gil or Aisu Head Giru.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
not making it. Okay,
Mhm.
created by Ikuo Hachiya, published June 25th, and is ongoing. In the land of ashen snow known as Great Ice, a young man named Gil Sol has been chased from the capital for some reason. On northern Urchin Island, Gil uses his axe skills to work for the Lord Mela, but someone has come looking for him. Use your axe to defy destiny. The adventure of the Ice Boy now begins.
God, that's definitely the most dramatic one out of all these that we've read so far. um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna say this straight off the bat, considering Wilder really suggested this to this one, I couldn't get my head around.
Could you not? I liked it. I
I
liked it.
yeah, I think it's there's something about it. I think it's really cool art style. Not something I'd ever actually expect to be in Jump is one way that I'd put this. I don't
Fair.
think this is a very Jump series.
You reckon?
It's very different to anything we've seen before, which is probably why I think that. Not that
Okay.
obviously I'm always a preacher for uniqueness in the series. It's it's just I'm so expectant that Jump is putting out the same shit all the time. um, but I can't put my finger on exactly why I didn't vibe with it as much. Out of all of them, I think this is actually probably the hardest one for me to read. Uh,
Interesting.
uh, I think is it because it might be set in like medieval times? It is, isn't it?
It's
Let's say
it's based on Norse mythology. So
Norse
like
mythology.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, kind of like more of that like
I will
medievalish
say this:
time.
any series that sets itself in the past, it really does become of a harder sell for me as well. I will say this.
But you like that other one. Fuck. What's it?
The samurai one.
Yeah, Elusive Samurai. You like
I
that?
think I think it was because of
I don't know
its
why I said it like that. I
elusive.
also like that one, but
I really liked Elusive Samurai. I think the difference was with that was no, I think the character designs are great. I love the mangaka that
but
did
Gil
that,
is
but
so cute.
I didn't vibe with it. I can understand. Gil
What?
seems like quite an interesting character. Sounds
I
very feels very powerful.
I love that the mangaka drew Gil so small. He's so cute.
Is it something that I might be more interested in if it was an anime, possibly? But I don't know what it is about this series.
Wow,
Just
I did.
really, this one vibed with me the least out of all of them.
Out of all of the ones that we were gonna discuss today, this is not the one I would have thought you'd have the hardest time getting into.
Again, I think it's. I've said what I've said about it already,
Fair
to be
enough.
honest. But
Fair enough. Yeah, I like this. I really enjoyed it. Again, I like
yeah,
the art style. I
yeah,
think because of video games I've played, I really like the setting because it's like Skyrim and obviously the new God of
yeah,
Wars are in Norse mythology as well. So it's like
yeah.
at the end of the first chapter, it basically talks about the story of Ragnarok. So
Hmm.
Gil is somehow wrapped up in trying to stop Ragnarok. Um, so I'm kind of like all into that right now as well because of video games and things. Um, I also just thought it was cool. I did quite like it. Again, I think Gil because it's not on model all the time. Sometimes Gil is like a little bigger and because
Yeah,
it's, like, snowy and stuff, they always draw him, like, really padded out so he looks like a baby in, like in, like, a
yeah.
winter outfit. And then other times they draw him really, really fucking small, and he looks like a
Yeah.
chibi with a big bobblehead, but, like,
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's so cute. I I actually kinda want, like, a Gil plush or something because I think it'd be really cute.
I like Gil in the fact that like as soon as they get an axe, it's like oh like the most like even if it's like oh it's just a wood cutting axe or whatever, suddenly becomes the most proficient fucking character. And it's just
Well, I mean, they
like
do
doing all
establish that
kind of
his dad was, like, the most
yeah.
powerful warrior in the capital. Um,
Mhm.
what I love is that Gil fights like Yoda.
Well, the fact that it just jumps around a shit ton
Yeah,
is
he,
just like
like,
yeah
jumps and, like they explain, like, Gil gets a lot of strength because he's actually using a lot of physics, like, he's adding a
yeah.
lot of centrifugal force by,
Mm.
like, spinning and twirling and stuff, like and I just saw it, and because he's so small as well, it's like, "Oh, it's like Yoda."
Yeah, it is very much. It's a cool concept for a character. Again, it's quite unique. It's all sorts of things that, for some reason, it should be on my list as something that I actually really enjoyed, but I just
I'm so
couldn't gel with it.
surprised. I'm actually still
Yeah,
so surprised. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, dude, but yeah, I loved it. I'm all in. I'm all in. It's cool. The
yeah,
mythology, the fact that Gil is cute and somehow has got something to do with the the aiding of Ragnarok. Well, not aiding, but like
mm,
stop. He's trying to stop Ragnarok probably because he's got to deal with liches, and if liches come back,
yeah.
then it's like the sign that Ragnarok's happening and it's the end of the world. So
I mean, this is the one thing. It's a good concept for a story, and I do actually appreciate a lot of it there. But it's just, I don't know. This is one that just really didn't gel with me as much. I love there's some character designs in this I just thought were really cool. Like, was it is it like that kind of parasite kind of character where like it just takes over from person to
oh, that was
person,
probably a
like
lich.
a lich? Yeah, the lich. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like,
probably a lich, to be
it
fair.
was, yeah, yeah. Like
Um,
it definitely is. But it's like one of those ones where it's like it's cool. It's cool to see.
yeah.
Just yeah. Which leads us on to would I read this? Probably not.
I
But
oh,
yeah,
yeah, I would read it. I'm probably I would like to
yeah,
continue. So,
that's
um,
fair. That's fair.
moving on to one I think is a little stranger, personally. Um,
Hmm.
Mama Yu Yu, created by Yoshihiko Hayashi, published September 11th and is ongoing. An era of peace between the hero and demon lord is upon us. In this peaceful world, the hero Corleo is nothing but an empty suit. But one day, a hero and demon lord from another world appear before him. How will Corleo deal with the chaos these invaders bring to his world? A new type of fantasy epic now begins.
Right. What did you think of this, Nathan? Because I'm interested of what you just said and like what you thought of this.
I don't know what I thought. This is why I said it's kind of strange because, like, it starts basically in a world that's already just created, not just, but like they've had peace for a little while.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a whatever kind of thing because nothing really happens, and then something happens, and now I'm kind of like, well, do I care enough to continue? I don't
See,
know.
I actually really enjoyed this one. I think it was one of those ones. I think it's a really interesting concept in the fact that you're living in a time of peace with heroes and demons.
Yeah,
And like they all coexisting. It's very different to a series where you're like, oh, the hero has to take out the demon or blah 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 blah. I've got to do this. And obviously, Corleo is the new hero of this world, but he's born into a world that literally doesn't really need him at all. So he's
yeah.
trying to find his purpose. He's like conflicted, and it's a really interesting story for your main character, especially since he's raised by a demon lord as well.
Well, the demon lord.
The Demon Lord, yeah, sorry, my bad.
Well, I mean, it's because it's that world. He's the hero of that world, and the demon lord of that world raised him for whatever
Mhm.
reason. Um, I don't know. I think the premise is interesting.
Mm.
Like in a world where the established has now become antiquated, what do you do?
Mhm.
But then, like, the the other hero and the other demon lord come in,
Yeah.
and like now it's kind of like feels like it's gonna be like, oh, off you go. Maybe more chaos happens. Maybe they need the hero again. But I don't know. Like I
This is one where this first chapter sets up the story more than has a resolution at the end of the chapter. This is one where, like, obviously, for a bit more context on what happens here, a hero appears from another world in Collier's world, and he claims to be a hero, and even has the insignia of a hero on his hand.
yes.
Uh, Immediately, people are suspicious of him. He's been there for 8 days. They lock up in prison, but in like constraints that he can easily get through anyway. So
Yeah,
already
because he
suspicious.
has magic and no one else does.
He claims that the demon lord is like needs to be killed right now, and says that another one is coming to this world. If he can make it to this world, another one will soon be here. So you're gonna be fighting two demon lords, and you won't have me. Blah blah blah. Like when they like plan to execute him, um, and it is a very interesting concept. I mean, without trying to give too much away of what happens at the end, you're thrown into a series where peril is on the way, and how does Corleo plan to like combat it? Basically, considering he has no like training real as a hero.
But you
It's
say perils
interesting.
on the way. I didn't feel like it really was.
Oh no, he got absolutely demolished straight. Like, what was it that? Was it Evan? Evan Green or
I
whatever?
can't. Yeah, I think so. Evan or
Evan A.
whatever. But
Green.
like
Yeah.
I mean, like they dealt with the other demon lord, and then like I won't explain anymore because
Mm,
Pepe already said like we don't want to spoil it too much of the
yeah.
first chapter. But like my interpretation was like, oh, so it doesn't like yeah, okay, more could appear, but like it doesn't feel like they will. So like I feel it just feels like oh now Corleo has been given an example of what a hero could be, and he's still trying. Like to me, the whole thing is that Corleo is still trying to find out what he's supposed to do, like what his role even means anymore in this modern version, like in his version of that world. And like to me, it's I think maybe that's why I don't like it because I don't see a viable prediction in like is he gonna go off and fight? Is he gonna go off and just like travel the world and be peaceful? Like I have no idea. Like
I feel like it does give a strong sense that there is going to be more combat on the way, and obviously this sets up for the fact that Corleo wants to be the hero that he has been trying to like. He's conflicted at the end of the day because obviously he's living in a world of peace, but he's the
yeah.
hero and he's just not needed right now. So obviously he's trying to figure out. who he is and what he wants to do. And I think it's gonna be more about Coolio's like growth as a character, which really does like I don't know, said like expand this series basically and like actually moves it forward. I think me wanting to read more of this, spoiler, I do want to read more of this series, comes from more of a place of intrigue rather than I thought like this. But I don't think this was my favorite series out of all the ones that we've read. However, it's
Yeah.
still one which I'm quite interested to see where it goes, and this is still ongoing. So I'd be quite interested to
I
see
mean,
like where this goes from here.
despite everything I've said, I
Mhm.
would probably continue reading, but out of curiosity, just not because it's like it hooked me in such a way. I'm like, oh, I have to read more. But I'm just like, I don't know where this is going, and I kind of just want to know.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
curious about this. It's one of those ones I feel like you need to give this it's one of those series you need to give more time to actually understand
Yeah, I've
what it's
do you know
about.
what? It's one of those where like, they put it out there and other people are like, "What the fuck?" And then someone comes along and is like, "No, no, no, let him cook. Let him cook."
Yeah, no, it is a Let It Cook series. It might very well be one where we're like, oh, okay, you need to like it's that whole thing, like it's that thing that you always say, Nathan. If it doesn't hook you in the first episode, why should I bother keep
Yeah.
reading it or watching it? But this one kind of feels like to give it a fair shot, it needs to have a bit more to it because it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like that story is really completed in that first chapter. I feel like I it could be one that I read the second chapter and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is where this series is going in terms of direction. I might not read anymore." But I think I'd need to read more to actually give it a better judgment, to be fair, which is
Again,
why I
that's
would say I'd read it more,
yeah,
like, yeah.
that's the only reason either of us are saying,
Mm,
"Yeah, we'd read it." It's just like
yeah.
just wanna kinda see where it's, like, pointing itself at, and then once I can figure that
Yeah.
out, I'm like, "Oh, I probably won't like that." Do you know
I
what I
still
mean?
think
Like, that's it.
yeah.
That's
I
all it
think the
is.
art in this is really good.
Oh, the art was cool,
The
though.
the drawings of the demon lord, that second demon lord is like freaking because it kind of comes out of nowhere. All these demons are like kind of like okay, cool, like quite a cool character design. Then this second demon comes through and it's like fucking oh, that's creepy.
The
That is
demons from Corleo's world are kinda like the all the otherworldly things from, like, Dragon Ball, like, in the other
yeah,
world, like, all the ogres, they kinda just look
yeah.
like that. They're, like, humanoid with some horns, and you're like, "Oh, okay, cool, whatever." They're
Hmm.
peaceful. But, yeah, this other thing comes in, and it's, like, fucking, like, Junji Ito style comes in, and you're just like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck?" It's got eyes and all sorts of shit, like, you're just like,
yeah.
"Ugh, ugh."
It catches you off guard and it's like, whoa, that's creepy. That's good. That's some talented fucking drawing right there. But yeah, yeah, we would both read this, but probably not for the same reasons we have said for other
Yes.
series. Next series though is one which, in my opinion, kind of spurred on this episode a little bit as well. Because this has been talked about a shit ton
Yeah.
online. It is Kagurabachi.
Jeez, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This blew up for the most ridiculous reason in the fact that like it had such a sick first chapter, or so it was said anyway. Like this first chapter is amazing.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like this is gonna be better than One Piece. This is better than
People were
Naruto.
calling for fucking an
Yeah,
anime by chapter 1, like, it feels like it is the biggest newcomer
and
in
it's like
forever.
oh, you've seen these videos like oh Mappa's making this an anime, and you're like what? It's literally just been released
How are they
as
making an
of
anime off of 1
yeah,
chapter, like
something that released in September of all
yeah,
literally
September
has
19th, it's not even been
yeah,
around for super long,
nah.
like
But Kagurabachi, do you want to give a quick rundown of
sure,
what exactly the series is?
Kagurabachi, created by Takeru Hokazono, like we said, published September 19th, ongoing. Young Chihiro spends his days training under his famous swordsmith father. One day he hopes to become a great sword maker himself. The goofy father and the serious son, they thought these days would last forever. But suddenly, tragedy strikes. A dark day soaked in blood. Chihiro and his blade now live only for revenge. Epic sword battle action.
I mean, that gives a pretty good rundown of what
Yeah.
basically this series is. And this is one out of all of them which I was like, okay, let me see if this lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
And I will say, I was ready to be like, it does. It immediately does live up to the hype. It's a fucking good first chapter. You can see why this blew
It
up.
was such a
Like,
slow burn though. Like
oh yeah,
it felt like such a slow burn, but once it kicked in, it was just like, "Oh crap! Oh, okay,
yeah.
I get it. I kind of get it now."
like you can see why this is anticipated to be like if it was to become an anime, you know for a fact it would be
Well,
done
like,
so well as well.
it's
Like it's
because, like, I I mean, it's not even spoilers. It's in the first chapter, for fuck's
yeah.
sake.
And most and
Like,
if out of all these series as well, if anyone's read any of these series, this
yeah,
is the one you probably would have read out
right.
of all of them.
It's so Chihiro's dad somehow is the only person who knows how to imbue a sword with sorcery. They
Hmm.
call it, not magic, sorcery. And like, you see Chihiro fight with one of these swords. The last one his dad ever made. And like, from that illustration, I was like, I think I understand why people like this already, because it looked a
Yeah.
bit Demon Slayer, because it was like he activated magic and then it looked like it was fucking water style, and I was like, okay, there you go, there you fucking go.
This is 100% Demon Slayer. If you love Demon Slayer, this is basically. I'm not gonna say it's basically Demon Slayer, but okay, there's a guy. There's this guy that is
Who
practicing the
uses
sword,
sword, yeah, and he's
and
got
he's going
elements,
through. Yeah, and he's got a family member, which is supposedly dead. It isn't actually established what happens
yeah.
to his dad, by the way. Never actually. It just says that he's looking for revenge, and he's joined his dad's friend hunting for these like yakuza or whoever they are, these demon, well, not
Well,
demon, like these
sorcerers.
sorcerers,
There's like
sorcerers,
some
yeah,
corrupt sorcerers or some shit, like some
yeah,
magic circle or something. I don't fucking know.
and there's all these like yakuzas involved as well. So this is like a modern demon slayer, if you
Yeah,
will, without demons, with sorcerers instead. But the the art styles is like that's a really cool art style, like all the battles and all that kind of
the
stuff, and like
fighting, the combat looks so
yeah,
cool. I get it. That again, that is it.
yeah,
The combat looks so cool, and because it was Demon Slayer esque, I'm like, Okay, I get why the
hmm
internet exploded for this fucking thing."
yeah. But what really confuses me about this series is obviously it's exploded, but we've never seen a reaction like this for a series that
Yeah,
has like literally just came out in September. Never seen this much hype from this kind of series. And you're like, there's people say it's better than One Piece, better than Naruto. Obviously, I feel like there's a certain level of shit posting in this as well.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
it's a good series. No way we gonna say this is better than every other series just off the first chapter. It's a good
Yeah,
first chapter, but to say it's like better than these series that have been going on for like decades is a bit okay. Hold back a
I
bit. It's
mean,
definitely shit. It's got to be shit posting.
it's shit posting for sure, but like, it's got good bones, and it set itself up to be like potentially a very, very strong series
Yeah.
for Jump. Like, it's very good. Like,
Mm.
again, because that combat is like very, very strong. And
Yeah.
because it's not just like that he is on the path of revenge, he was training to be a sword maker. So the theory being like he could probably also make his own one. He's obviously
Yeah.
using like his dad's very last creation. But his dad did say like, "Oh, if you're serious about this, like, because he put him through some tests, and he
Hmm.
was like, if you're serious about this, then there's some stuff I need to teach you that no one else can do, which is probably that because his dad was the only person who can imbue magic into a sword. But it depends on how many swords his dad made as well, because it's like
Yeah.
he's got to then go up against people with other magic in swords,
Hmm.
probably, right?
Yeah.
Or like magic people in general.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where it goes, just because I want to see more sword fighting.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a series which like you said, this is gonna have a strong future in Jump. You can really tell it's gonna be a really
Like,
popular series.
it's here's my speculation, or like, I wanna ask you what you think. Do you think if he has multiple swords with magic, is he gonna be the type that only uses the single standard like one hand style and then drops the sword or resheaths and pulls out another one? Or do you think this is the kind of series where he's gonna do a Zoro or a bee, a killer bee, and like multiple sword style? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe
Like,
oh, that's a different thing though, isn't it? That's like a whole other sword style, like you said. I could see it possibly be. I mean, if Kirito can do
I mean,
it.
like, yeah, but Kirito is a little more realistic. Like a dual blade, like
Yeah.
dual wielding
Yeah.
makes a little more sense. But like
Yeah.
a three sword style, an eight sword style, I don't think
Nah, I can't
so.
I can't I can't see it going that way. I think interchanging the swords is actually a concept that we don't actually see too much in a series. Oh look, this isn't the right sword for this. Let me switch out and like having that kind of like trading swords. Like, okay, using the right sword for the right scenario is quite a
There's
cool
such
concept.
there's such a powerful thing. Like I
Yeah.
can't see it that he's often gonna like launch a sword at a guy and then let it hang in the wall or something because someone's gonna run over and grab that, right? So I feel
Yeah.
like it's one of those where he does like a
Mm,
like an instant like unsheathing, does a cut, sheath,
yeah.
next sword, like you know what I mean? And it's his dad was known for their katanas, but katanas come in all sorts of lengths.
Mm.
So it's like, is he gonna have like an odachi, like a shorter knife one? Or is he like sorry, I think that was a wakizashi actually. I think Nodachi is like the fucking Sephiroth fucking sword.
So, bro. Yeah.
Like, but you know what I mean? Like, is he gonna have different lengths and stuff, or are they gonna be standard size, or like? There's just so many thoughts, and that's why I'm like, I kind of want to read this. I
I
want,
wanted like there's like I love that all the like or any of the moves that we saw that him use were basically off of the goldfish as well.
yeah,
That's a cool concept. So I love that like this goldfish, like you said, it's a slow burner. Like his dad's talking about goldfish for about three or four pages at the start of this. And it's like it's I don't know, it's I just want to know more about where this is going, what movies he's gonna do. Like you said, like and this is more about this is combat. This is a series which is gonna be you're predicting really good battles from this, and this is why out of all of them, this is one I'd want to continue just to see how much epicness comes from it.
yeah.
Yeah, like not like obviously story is a good factor into it, but this is like I want to see some cool battles. Let me keep
Yeah, it
reading
is.
this manga. This is
This one, even if it had a cool story, you're here for the fights. You're not
yeah, you're here for the. This is 100%. You're here for the. You're here for
like
the
yeah.
fights.
The
Easy,
story is
easy.
just a bonus. Everything else
Yeah.
is just the cherry on top. You're here for that fight, man.
Yeah. Honestly, again, we've only read the first chapter of this, so it could be fleshed out a shit ton more in the next couple.
Plus, it's
So
already set itself up to be quite a brutal, gory kind of story as well.
Yeah,
Like
very much so.
almost like a Chainsaw Man esque kind of gruesome because it's like you see them, the yakuza, literally just kill a group of like protesters and hang them
Yeah.
from an overpass. So like
Yeah.
you know, cruelty is gonna be in it.
This is why people are calling for like, if it does get an anime, Mappa needs to do it because you know for a fact it's a Mappa
Mappa needs a
style anime.
break, but Mappa needs a break, man. Mappa can't do everything.
Yeah.
They're great, don't get me wrong, but they're
Yeah.
tired, man. Like you got to give them
Yeah.
a break.
I mean, to be fair, I could see this probably coming through. Like by the time this probably does get an anime, probably Demon Slayer will probably be over that point. So if you wanted to just like UFO table like to take it over afterwards, is
Like
probably
I look, I'm just saying, like animators are working hard out here, man. They
yeah.
they they suffering. Okay, we got to give
Yeah.
animators a break.
But yeah, not dwelling on this too much longer because I think we all know where this is going.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd both continue reading this. It is as much as this series is hyped, it's justifiably hyped. I will say that first
I
chapter was
fully
really good.
agree. I fully
Yeah.
agree. Yeah,
As much
go.
as I wanted to be like, you know what? No, screw the hype. This series is shit. Like, I was like, yeah, this checks out. This all these people say, yeah.
It's always a possibility though. When everyone's so hyped about something, there's always the chance you'll come in and be like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah. Like part of me wanted it to be like this is just shit posting. This isn't actually a good series. But it's like you check it out and it's like, no, it's not just shit posting. It's actually a genuinely good series.
I feel like that's Pepe. Just want to be part of the counterculture though.
Yeah.
Just be like,
Part of it,
no.
but I mean, you insult my One Piece, you know I'm gonna fucking throw hands.
Well, I mean, you can throw all the hands you want. They're going to be throwing swords with elements in it, so
Yeah.
you're probably dead, bitch.
Right, moving on to the next series, I guess.
Yes. Two on Ice or Tsu on Ice, created by Elk Itsumo, which interesting name.
Yeah, very interesting. That's fair.
Published September 25th and is ongoing. One day, Hayuma meets a familiar girl on the skating rink. She turns out to be Kisara, the one who inspired him to get into skating years ago. But why did she suddenly vanish from the world of figure skating? There'll be a fire on the ice when a self taught skater with a dream and a former figure skating prodigy team up.
Thank you. Yes. Uh I tell you what, this is a one that Nathan's probably gonna guess what my answer is gonna be.
Yeah, you like this.
And so I did quite like this. I don't like there's again a uniqueness about this. Like I've never read a figure skating anime or well, never actually seen a figure
I was
skating
gonna say
series
there
before.
was a figure
Apart
skating anime, I swear.
there is. It's called Yuri on Ice,
Yeah, I
but
was
that
gonna
is that's
say.
a very strong boy love undertones to it.
Well, you
I've
don't
never
want that
actually seen
boy
it.
love.
It's there. Is literally like you like boy love, watch Yuri on Ice. Is basically the thing. But this is like Nathan said, it's not like a romance series either. This is just like this guy's
No,
admiration for figure skating, and he sees like he has a role model and suddenly she vanishes and he's just desperate to like kind of find out why she vanished, but also like he's still like well he's self-taught in figure skating himself.
literally, yeah. He basically because he saw her skate when he was a kid,
Yeah.
and he was so inspired. He's like one of those people. He's like very naturally talented in sports because
Mm.
it's like, oh yeah, I win everything in third grade. Anything to do with sports, I win all the time. Like, I'm the best. And he just like falls in love with figure skating, and so he goes and teaches himself based on what he memorized from watching this girl. Like he gets so obsessed. He even says like, I watched hours and thousands of hours of your skating, and like I just learned to sort of copy you. Um, he's not good because obviously he's self-taught. So like,
He's shaky as hell because obviously all he knows is obviously like I don't know, recreating stuff he's seen from the videos basically and just doing that over and over again. But it's like basically he shows potential, and obviously this girl who's a prodigy is like, ah, okay, well, let's team up, and they become a figure skating duo
yeah, pairs.
pairs. Yeah, so
Yeah, I I knew you'd like this. I
yeah,
wasn't so into this
yeah,
personally.
I can kind
I
of
w-
see
I
like,
I was more into the kind of like sports aspect of it, and I tried to go in being
yeah,
like, "Come on, you might like it. It's a sports manga," but the rest of it is
yeah.
I'm just kind of I don't care. I don't
Yes,
care.
I think it's a quite an interesting like so like it's very character led this one, and it's a role model. It's like a I want to say it's like a very similar underdog story, but not so much. Obviously, it's just this pair trying to get used to
I,
working together is probably where the series is going to go. And obviously, they are talented, but
I think depends on how it's written in
yeah,
subsequent chapters. I might be able to get into it, but from the first chapter, no, I can't. I was going
I
into it hoping it was going to be like a blue box situation where it like surprised me and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I like
yeah.
this." Did not like this. I did not like this. I thought it was boring.
You thought it was boring. Okay,
For
damn.
me
Okay,
personally, I thought it was boring.
yeah.
Like,
I wouldn't have said I'm quite keen to continue reading it. I did have low expectations at the start, I will say this. I don't think the art is anything that grabbed me straight away with it. I think there's certain bits where it's like, okay, it's cool, like this looks alright. But we've seen other series, like reading all of these other ones, there's some really strong art in some of them, and this one I don't think lives up to as
what
much.
I
Yeah.
will say
Mhm.
about the art is, you know how before you were saying, I can't remember which one now. Feels like we've been talking about manga for ages now. This art style to me was very reminiscent of old manga
Okay, yeah.
from like it's got that sort of 80s feel.
Yeah.
It's something about the way the characters look.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like because the lines aren't so sharp, it's a little more rounded sometimes. Like I don't know, there's something about it that made me sort of think of like the 80s to 90s manga
Mm.
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what series I can kind of compare it to in that sense.
I mean, I couldn't tell you. I mean, but like as a rough comparison, let's say, not saying no, this is exactly what I think, but like kind of like a Sailor Moon almost. Like if you see like the manga for Sailor Moon, like some of the earlier ones, it's like it kind of feels a little
it's
like
kind of
that.
it feels a little bit like rough and ready in certain bits, which is
Yeah,
quite interesting for a figure skating series. You think it's gonna be a lot of graceful, but it's also like a little bit there's like it feels rough in some times, but that isn't going against it, in my opinion. Uh, but I enjoyed this. I thought it was a decent series. I probably will try and read more of it, but yeah. It's one of those. It's also one of those ones where I'm like, I can kind of see it getting cancelled as well. I don't want it to be, but like,
Yeah, I can see
I,
that.
ca- I don't know how long it will last. Is one of the things with this,
I
but
also
I don't
feel
know.
like figure skating can be quite hard to draw though. Because like
Yeah,
with a static image, how do you draw so much twirling and spinning and all that?
this is one thing that I think I mentioned in a previous episode. At one point, there's a series based around ballroom dancing. I
Yeah,
think it's straighten up. Welcome to something high. As like ballroom dancing team, something really for a really long title, basically.
yeah, long and
And
stupid is a stupid
it
thing.
was it was by the same monker as Shudan, because I remember this is what we talked. It was in
Yep.
that episode probably.
What a disappointment.
Um, yeah. um, so it's one of those ones that I really do want to support. I think it could be really good. It's just it faces a lot of hurdles when it comes down to it. Like obviously figure skating, you got to include like you said, movement has to be on point with this. This is why art has to
Yeah,
be really good, and it's also the fact that music is a big part of figure skating,
it is. It
and
is.
it's so hard to convey music in series like this, which is why I don't think Straighten Up, that series, the
I
ballroom
think.
dancing one.
I also think that they've picked quite a tough audience.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not saying anything, but like typically figure skating, not a typically male centric
No.
like interest, right? If this was like, especially because it's Shonen Jump,
Mm,
Weekly Shonen Jump. If you said to me it was in a shoujo magazine, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right?
mm.
Probably will do fairly well. But like, just from the age range of it, I'm like, I don't know many like 11 to 17-year-old that like. If you're going off the typical audience of Shonen
Yeah.
Jump, like 11 to 17-year-old males, I'm like, I don't know how many of them are going to be like, yeah, figure skating. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it feels like it's already started with an uphill battle way
It's a
before.
tough sell, it really is a
And
tough sell.
whilst I
Yeah.
like me personally, I didn't enjoy it and I won't read it. I do kind of want to see it succeed because it's just kind of like against all odds kind of thing. I think it'd be interesting to like shake up what is all of what I've said is a like traditional and known about the magazine and the audience and stuff because like we need some shake-ups.
Yeah. All power to it. I really do hope it does well. I just like I'm kind of doubtful, but I'll still read it. Like,
Yeah, I doubt as well a little bit, but like again, whilst I won't read it, I do kind of hope it does succeed in some way because it will shake up what is the traditional like Shonen Jump manga, you know?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you always need those series. I don't think this will lead into romance. I kind of hope not at this point because this is role model rather than like,
Yeah, but at the same time, like if something like Blue Box can still keep going in Jump,
yeah.
then like I don't see why this couldn't also have its own little space.
Yeah, I speak for it more of like a where this series is going. I think Blue Box, I think it fully embraced the fact that this is partly romance in the series
Yeah.
very early on. I think this series isn't really focused on romance in
I
that
mean,
first chapter at
I
all.
wasn't really talking about romance in as an aspect. I just meant in general. If something like Blue Box can exist in Shonen Jump
Yeah. Oh yeah, in
and is
general,
like
yeah.
a little off of the norm, this I kind of hope carves its own space in Jump, like because it's like not really something you would see.
Yeah. That's well, fingers crossed for it anyway. As I said,
Yes.
I'd read it again. Nathan probably won't. But anyway, our last manga.
Moving on to something that is a bit divisive between us.
Yeah, yeah.
Green, green, greens.
Yeah.
Gooding, gooding, goodings. Shut up, you. We're gonna get copyright struggle. It's too accurate.
Oh my days.
Anyway, created by Kento Terasaka, published November 27th and is ongoing. Yaisaki is a bored high school student with no direction in life. Right as he starts noticing how all his friends have dreams they're striving for, he meets pro golfer hopeful Nadeshiko Oga, and his empty life begins to change. Now it's time to find a whole new you as this golfing adventure tees off. This is why it's divisive, because golf.
Right, okay, I'm going to speak my thoughts on golf series straight off the bat. In the fact that there has been a golf series before, believe it or not, called Robot Laserbeam, created by the
Yay.
Kuroko the basket author, which we also
Yay.
mentioned earlier. And as much as I liked the first half of Robot Laserbeam, it did a time skip and became awful.
That's because it was getting cancelled.
Yeah. So when I heard another golf series is coming into Jump, I'm obviously very skeptical of it. And when a bit of backstory, when me and Nathan were going through all of these series and which ones we were reading, I got audibly aggressive about everything after this
Yeah.
because I really didn't want to read another golf manga.
You got so mad. Oh my
Because
god.
because we were we're going through these series in reverse order, like, oh, we're doing this one, which is Green Greens, and I got like, oh, for fuck's sake, here's a golf manga. Nathan proceeded to read like small blurbs of the rest of these, and like looking at, I was with him there, flicking through the app, and I just got angry at everything else for
Yeah.
no justified reason.
This
No
boy
justified
got
reason.
so salty. Oh my god, it was
This
so funny.
made me angry. And the funny thing is about all of that is reading Greens is actually a pretty decent first chapter. I can't hate on it too much. It's actually pretty good.
I'm glad you liked it because I knew you would. You love your golf. Let's not pretend you don't love your golf series.
No, I
It's not
did
that he
like a
plays
certain-
golf. He loves his golf series. He loves them. They're his favorite, even if he gets aggy about it. Yeah, it's actually not bad. It's not bad.
It's alright. It's alright as a series, isn't it? It's like,
It's pretty. It feels like pretty generic in the sense
yeah.
it's like, oh, it's just teenage kid. He doesn't know what he wants to do, and he's like, because he doesn't know what he wants to do, he just wants to make a lot of money. So he learns lots of facts about people who can make a lot of money. He knows a lot about sports stars that just get paid a lot. And then he gets given a harsh truth by oh gosh, she she fucking destroys him.
rips into him, yeah.
Oh my god, that's like savage for the no fucking reason. She basically turns around and is like, you know why you know all these facts? Because you got nothing. You're nothing, and that's why you remember things, because you live through other people because you're nothing. And then he goes home and basically is like, holy shit, I am nothing. Oh my god. And then he's basically like, well, I'll show you. And he goes back and plays golf some more at the shooting range. He accepts it rather than like mopes around and it's like, I'm gonna destroy you with this golf club.
Yeah, no, it's not like, it's not coming from a point of aggression or anything, or like trying to be like show anyone up. It's like he gives it a shot. He basically goes to the driving range and he's like, yeah, okay, I'll give this. And like he eventually like he misses or like fluffs a lot of his hits when he like goes to the driving range, but he gets one good hit basically. And then it's like kind of like this is what spurs the story on from there. It's like he has potential because it turns out he was using the wrong club.
He was
as
using
well.
an 8-iron and he hit 150, and that's like
Yeah.
not normal from what the
Yeah,
manga
so-
says.
Like this is one thing. Like I know nothing about 8-irons or like different
Yeah,
clubs. Or
we
anything
know
like that.
absolutely
So-
fuck all about golf, by the way.
Yeah, so this is one thing which is like, oh, okay, this is interesting. You also get the setup from the first page that this character actually does something. Like he goes to the masters or whatever. Like he's like he ends
Yeah,
up going
yeah.
like this was.
It's
So
kind
we
of
get,
like
like-
foreshadowing.
It is foreshadowing, but also being like, oh, here's this thing. Like whether that's actually true or not. Like it might
Well,
even
like-
just be a fake like mislead.
It's also like
Who knows?
pretty much right after that they establish that this is another character that's just like naturally gifted at sports. Because he's
it
also
is.
like, oh, I win at every gym class. I'm just a big fish in a small pond, and it's like, okay, then why have you got no goal? And it's because it turns out he's one of those people that are like, yeah, but there's always someone better than you, so why try?
Yeah. And I feel like this this is one of those series, right? Which I did enjoy the first chapter, but I'm also like his motive and the way his character is could be put in any other sports manga.
Yeah.
and it would still be the same.
Not even
It would,
sports manga. You can put him in any
eh,
manga. He's like
and
such a
yeah,
generic kind of protag that like you could take him out of that, tweak it a little bit, and he could fit in any manga, like shonen manga, because it's basically just didn't have aspirations but has potential,
yeah,
gains an aspiration, and off he goes.
hmm
He becomes the MC that you know and love, or
yeah.
whatever. Like it can fit in anywhere,
Mm.
really.
And it just feels like one of those ones where it's like, I do appreciate. I think this is going to be a more character-led story than it's like, oh, here's this golf technique, blah blah blah. Like this is going. This feels like, although they definitely will focus on golf, like to progress the story forward. Obviously, you'll this will be more of a character develop thing. Like, oh, here's
Yeah,
how his personality changes and how his perspective changes
I feel
on
like it
this kind of
might be similar to Robot Laser Beam, where there was like the cast of characters that he'll learn from. Whilst there might be some of the technical aspects of the sport, it's probably the interaction between characters.
hmm
However, I feel like it's going to fall heavily on the other characters because he just feels like you're gung ho, like, okay, whatever, water off the duck's back. I'm gonna keep pushing forward, do it my way until something clicks, and then I do the thing and it works. You know what I mean? Like he kind of feels like kind of like a brute force, kind of like I'm just gonna keep plowing forward. I don't know any better. I don't know any different. People are gonna have to teach me the to do something, and like it's gonna be that I become the sum of everyone else's experiences, kind of thing.
Probably, it probably is. You're probably most likely right. But this is the one thing with it. It I can't see this series going a whole like too much longer than a year personally.
I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
if we're talking the standard jump style, yeah, I mean, it'll probably get its 20 if it's lucky and it'll be gone. I don't I can't see it lasting. I feel like this might get axed. And
I
I,
think it will be as
I
well.
don't
Yeah.
know that I'd be that concerned. Like I could read this personally just because it's another sports manga, but am I enthralled? Not really. But do I hate it? Not really.
Yeah. I This is the one thing, right? Because it feels so middle groundy
Yeah.
that when it comes down to that, what we were saying, would we continue reading this? This is the one out of all of them which I'm like, maybe. Because I'm not definite like, oh, I really want to keep reading this. And I'm also like, I wouldn't say no to this because it does show like it could be a good, but it's like, is this worth my time? Is the
Eh.
question at this point. And it is, out of all of them, this is the only one where I'm gonna be like, I might read more of it. I'm not entirely sure if I will or not. So out of all the series, I've been able to give a definite answer on whether I would read more or not. And this one just feels like maybe I will, maybe I
Nah.
won't.
I'm 100% with you on that. This one is kind of like if I read it, it's because it's there, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that one." Or if I don't read it, I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what? It's like we always say, sometimes these ones are the worst ones because it's like you don't have an opinion either way, which means it really doesn't matter. And
Yeah, which is
when you
tough,
don't
but
care, that's worse than caring and not caring.
he's so right with it, yeah.
Because at least you have an
God,
opinion
that's
one way or the other, but this, when you have no opinion, is like, wow, that's
yeah.
bad.
Maybe
Pretty
because I
bad.
had such low expectations, I was just very surprised by how, like, it kinda got me a little bit,
Ah,
so maybe
I
it just
thought
went
this was gonna
really.
be your top favorite, your best one you ever loved. Like this is gonna be your new One Piece. Like
This is my new One Piece, right?
Pepe's gonna
Um,
be the greens guy. Like
Talking about favorites, though, this brings us to the end of the episode. However, out of all of these, Nathan, which was your favorite?
I would have to say, oh, this is a tough one. There's a lot of
It's
good
tough,
ones.
really, yeah.
I would probably say Martial Master Asumi for me.
Mhm.
It's between. It was between that and Nue's Exorcist, I think.
Mm.
But I mean, martial arts in it, so
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
martial arts and combat sports. That's what beats it out for me. I
Mhm.
think that's my top pick of all of them. What is yours? If it's not
I'd
greens,
Surprisingly, Kagurabachi is probably my favorite out of all
that makes
these.
sense.
Closely followed by Nue's Exorcist as well. I think that is one that really shows potential. I would really love to read more
See,
of those two.
that speaks volumes about Nue's Exorcist, though. Like,
Yeah.
we both have a different favorite, but number two was the same thing.
Yeah,
Like, that's pretty
it
strong,
is.
you know.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, like it's like you said about Phantom Seer. Both of us really enjoyed Phantom Seer.
Yeah,
It's just a shame
both
that it
of us
never
really like
continued.
Shaman King as well. It's like there's so
Mm.
many elements of it, and I think that's why Nue's Exorcist is really cool. But like, yeah, preferences play a part. Like Kagurabachi was on my, it's definitely in there somewhere. But if I had to pick like the absolute, like, no, I love this more than anything else. For me, it is always going to be the combat sport.
It's unsurprising for you that,
I mean,
yeah, the sports
Pepe knows
manga
though.
is up
Like
there.
for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
it's really hard though because I'm picking between like combat sport, like martial arts, or swords. So, like, you know, the weeb in me wants to pick the swords, but like realistically, like I like seeing the combat sport. I like seeing the martial arts more. So
Nice. Well, that, as I said before, this brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening to all of our reviews today. If you have a favorite Weekly Jump manga of 2023, let us know. If you have a favorite out of all those, like, we'd love to hear it.
I do want to say we're taking Christmas off, so this will be the last episode. But if you're on podcast platforms, you're getting some bonuses. We're giving you a little Christmas gift, some lost episodes you never got before. But yeah,
but yes, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button so you know when a Cultured Boys video is coming out. We are also on all podcast platforms, links in the description, as well as X. Links is in the description for that as well. But we'll catch you next time for another Cultured Boys episode. Bye bye.
bye bye.